got to get into our next story, which is about the restraining order that Kenleigh, or as I like to call her, Kenleigh, filed against her ex-boyfriend, David Eason, to get him out of her damn house. Unfortunately, after getting an emergency restraining order, her request for a permanent one was denied. And this is news coming hot off the press from the Ashley's Reality Roundup. Okay, let's get into the story. Okay. First of all, when she filed the restraining order initially, she said that David was verbally ABUSIVE towards her. He was harassing her after the breakup, insulting her, cursing her out, all sorts of things like that, right? And that he was doing these kind of like wheelies or like kind of, you know, burning his tires on her street and whatnot, like all sorts of things. And she actually even filmed that. We saw the video of that over on her Instagram stories, right? And so again, she's seeking to get that extended and on a more permanent basis. But unfortunately, when they met in court last month, they both agreed that David would leave her alone and get rid of all of his things on her property, right? So that she could finally fully be free and clear of him. But David is taunting her, you guys, because he's taking his sweet time getting his stuff out of her house. But anyway, according to the Ashley sources, the court reporter told them that Kenleigh pleaded her case on Monday, just yesterday, before the judge. And she explained that she was in fear of her safety, given that David had been coming to her home and, quote, verbally abusing me and acting manic. She says that she lives alone, and because of David's alarming history of violent behavior, she wanted the restraining order to make her feel more safe, which I think is justified, right? But again, this goes back to the frustrating thing about this, right? David does indeed have a long history of violent behavior, of harassing women, of being violent against women and children and animals. So how did we even get here? That's the question that I keep on asking myself. You know, I don't want to blame her or anything like that, but can we please pay attention to people's past histories, you know, men's past histories, and protect ourselves by refusing to engage with men who have a long history of violence against women? It feels like the reasonable thing to do. It feels like the smart thing to do. Just saying. Anyway, but unfortunately, the judge said no to extending the restraining order for another year, you guys. The source said, and I quote, after Kenleigh presented her case, the judge ruled that there was not enough evidence to show that David had been harassing Kenleigh or causing her emotional distress. So he dismissed the restraining order request. David looked pleased, but Kenleigh was livid. So there you go. They were both in the courtroom there together. And listen, I get it. I would be pissed too if I were her. And this guy had such a long history. He truly does. He's got multiple restraining orders against him right now. On top of that, he needs a psych eval before even being able to hang out with his kid. He's got another one that there's a no contact order on. Like, it would seem like the reasonable thing for a judge to just say, hey, listen, this is just a violent person. This is just a degenerate overall. So let me go ahead and protect this woman by extending her restraining order by 1 more year, right? And so when it was time for David to go and cut his stuff out of Kenleigh's house, the source, Kenleigh herself actually told the Ashley that David wasted the court's resources, the cops, for 3 hours. In that time, he only grabbed a cowboy hat, a few tools, and one of his bikes. Quote, after being at my house for 3 hours, he left with most of his stuff still in the shed. Here's my thing, though. I really do feel like at that point, if there was a time and date and an escort provided for you to get your things out, you have to get your things out, all of it, or a reasonable amount of it. And if not, the other person can just leave them out and they can be damaged, and then after a certain amount of time, they can sell them or just get rid of them. That sort of a thing, right? But a reasonable amount. So in this case, with David making no real effort, taking hours to remove 3-4 items, I do think that she should have been allowed to just put his stuff all out there, let it get ruined in the rain, let the hyenas or whatever they've got out there in the boonies, let them destroy these things. Just saying. All right. So Kenleigh told the Ashley that the deputy who escorted David onto the property was angry about having his time wasted and said that he would not escort David again to get any more of his things. All right. So Kenleigh shared her own take on this situation over on her Twitter account. She complained about how the court system and the law around here, North Carolina, will make someone want to relocate. F this area for that. And so she got quite a bit of support via her followers. So she had a follower who asked if David had a lawyer representing him. If he did and you didn't, I've seen that happen before. You wouldn't think it would matter, but apparently it does. To which Kenleigh responded that yes, apparently David did have a lawyer. Listen, that alimony check hit, you guys, because when David was going up against those child ABUSE charges, he was representing himself. And those are serious criminal charges, right? That carry jail time. And he didn't have the money for a lawyer. He was begging Janelle's lucky court star to represent him. And Destin said no, right? But in this restraining order case, all of a sudden, after the Janelle money comes through, he's got the money to be able to represent himself and to win this sort of a case, right? And so another one of her followers posted another comment saying, and I quote, "I'm stunned. How can she get one? And she's in another state," she being Janelle, "but he can come onto your property and you're denied." And Kenleigh says, "The judge was a male, and that's about all that I've got for you." And that's the thing, you know, the justice system still is very much sexist. It's still very much going to protect men. And again, that is why we as women have to be very smart and very prudent about who it is that we're dating and spending our time with. Let's not go out and date men with a very public history of abusing women. That is going to be very helpful for us in a sexist world, in a world where we're at such high risk, you know, of falling victim to DV and stuff. We have to do what we can to protect ourselves, because the justice system just does not protect us, right? And even if she did get that restraining order and it got extended or whatever, at the end of the day, a restraining order is a piece of paper. How many women have still been deleted and stalked by people who they had restraining orders out on, right? We have to be as careful as possible. We can't think that we're going to change a grown-ass loser who is a deadbeat to all of his children and who has proven with a legal track record of like a decade plus that he is a violent, abusive piece of crap who isn't worth a damn thing. We can't be doing that. We really can't. That's what pisses me off about this case a lot. I feel for her, but at the same time, like, please protect yourselves. Brenda says, "I hope you're locked and loaded. Maybe you can find someone to tow that shed off your property and have someone burn it, please," right? And so I'm happy to hear that Kenleigh says that she stays locked and loaded. Let someone F around and find out. So exactly. I don't know. Y'all, please let me know. Is North Carolina a stand your ground state, right? So if deadbeat David were to make his way onto her property in a menacing way, is there something that Kenleigh could do to protect herself in that sort of instance? I hope so. I really, really hope so. Oh, Lord. Let me see what you guys have to say about it. You know, this is a really, really sad and crappy situation. But to be honest, I think that with all that David has on his plate, the other restraining orders, the Jace situation, the custody of Ensley and whatnot, like, I do think that he's going to be leaving her alone. Like, I don't know what he's doing about his stuff. I think the problem is that he doesn't have anywhere to put it, right? Like, isn't he homeless? Like, he was squatting on Janelle's boat last I heard. And when Kenleigh found him, that's where he was living. So where's he going to put all this stuff? Unfortunately. Kahara, what about a duck for Thanksgiving? Oh, this is bougie. Unfortunately, I hate duck. I find it to be just too, I don't know how to describe it, but this is how I find duck. What does that mean to you guys? Because that's how I find duck. When I'm with my daughter and my boyfriend, we have a duck. But when I'm with my mom and my family, we have turkey. You know, there's so many restaurants here in Paris that are like duck and champagne restaurants. So if you really like duck, you're going to love Paris. I don't know if you've already been or not, but there's so many duck and champagne restaurants. Unfortunately, I just don't like it. It feels, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how it feels like to me. Woody the Cat says, oh, my apologies. I didn't consider dietary restrictions. Well, no worries at all. It was a great suggestion. In fact, listen, if I do another Thanksgiving, with a different group of friends or something like that, where that wouldn't be such an issue, I would love to have ham there. Good on you, Gwen. You see, like, they're really, really pushing. Cynthia loves her AI. They're really pushing for it. They really, really are. Summer Breeze. Let me bookmark your Kevin Federline comments because I'm actually really interested. But I want to see these David Eason Canal comments, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, boom. Jimmy says, that's such BS. He is dangerous. Exactly. He has a very, very long history proving that he is dangerous to women, children, animals, everything. Right. And I feel exactly, that's how I feel. I've got very complicated feelings about this. It was entirely preventable. It truly, truly was. It was entirely preventable. When he says, do a Google search of the men that you're dating. She can always file a new one. And that's good advice too. So I hope she takes that advice. Right. Hopefully she will eventually be able to get that. But again, I do think he's going to leave her alone, and I hope that that's the case. But again, if he bothers her, she can definitely go ahead and file once again. Ramster says, I don't want to go all Dr. Phil, but past behavior predicts future behavior or something like that. Yet he still finds women who will believe his lies. Exactly. What do you get out of a relationship with David Eason? He's broke. Truly, truly broke. No job, no money, no ambition to get a job, right? On top of that, he's squatting on his ex-wife's boat. He's got no contact with any of his freaking kids. He's got a history of, like, what are you getting out of a relationship with David Eason? Like, be so effing for real, ladies. Be so effing for real. Like, maybe he can say, oh, all those things are lies, right? I mean, I didn't hit those ladies. They lied. Then why aren't you in the contact with any of your kids? Why don't you have a damn job? Let's talk about those other things. Like, please have the bare minimum expectation standard that your boyfriend has a freaking job. Okay, please. That's the least that you can expect for yourself. It's not gold digging to expect a man to be gainfully employed, especially a father of 3. Just saying, right? Ugh, it's so crazy. It is driving me absolutely. It is driving me absolutely nuts. Good morning, Breeby. Now you got me wanting to watch 101 Dalmatians. It's such a good movie. I really like it. The no catch bails do not help either. They keep trying to reform, but I don't think they found the perfect recipe or secret or whatever quite yet. Good morning, BB. How are you doing? Happy Tuesday. Ramster says, in most of Western Europe, you can Google all you want, but privacy laws prevent you from accessing a criminal record. But this was on TV. Exactly. That's one thing that you guys in America have as an advantage over those of us living in Europe, is that the privacy laws are not strong at all. Shibu, where you guys are at, like they are here. So please take full advantage of it. You're really, really lucky to have that, to be able to protect yourselves. And again, that was on TV. And she is a fan of that TV show. So she saw it all. She knew it all. Gwen says, many states are stand your ground states as a result of ALEC. The history there is disturbing. Ooh, I'm scared to know what that means, this whole ACT thing, right? Okay, look, it's a stand your ground. So I'm happy that she at least has a gun to be able to protect herself, because she seems to be a very small girl as well, like a short girl. So her up against like a 6'5" Sasquatch or whatever, like there's no competition, right? Especially with him being a man, like be locked and loaded in that case. Renee says, I thought he actually bought some land by the house. Oh, Lord. He won some in the separation. If you're talking about the house, yeah, some land by the land. Yes, he won some in the divorce. Listen, marrying Janelle was the best financial move this man ever made in his life. He walked away with so much. And that's the sad thing. He keeps on winning big in these divorces, in these restraining order justice things. Like, I really hope that at least in the case of the Jace situation, he gets some sort of like jail time. All right, because the way that he keeps on winning against these women is like weird and suspicious as hell. And yes, we need a cat. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the butcher and get a really big chicken, enough for about 8 people, because we're going to be about 8 people for this Thanksgiving dinner. So listen, let me give you guys the menu we're going to have for Thanksgiving. Okay, we're going to have the big chicken. We're going to make stuffing, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, apple pie, maybe like a walnut cranberry salad. What else am I missing? Am I missing something on that list? I don't know where you would find collard greens in Paris, and baked mac and cheese isn't really like a thing that we do in Canadian Thanksgiving that I'm aware of anyway. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything on this list? I hope not. I don't think I'm missing anything, but we'll see. Yes, Gwen, that is the word. Gamey. I think it's a little gamey for me personally. It just feels like hefty, like I'm wrestling with it. Like the only meat that I want to wrestle with is beef jerky. That's what I'll say. Like I like wrestling my beef jerky, but after that, not so sure. Baby, the story we just covered was about how dog killer Dave won in the restraining order battle against Kenleigh. Kenleigh wanted for it to be extended for another year, and unfortunately, the judge said no to that. And David, not somehow, thanks to Janelle, actually, he had the money to get himself a lawyer to be able to beat this restraining order situation. And on top of that, he was ordered to go and pull his things out of her house and out of her shed. So he had a police escort and everything. But this man only removed like his hat, his boots, and one other item in the span of about 3 hours. Pissed off the cop. The cop said that he refused to do any other things like that with David. What is it? Escorts or whatever with him, because he is just a time waster. And we were talking about how Kenleigh should be allowed to just put his stuff out, let it get damaged, by the great outdoors or something like that. Exactly. It is a privilege. She was so lucky to be able to have all that in black and white. And when she started dating him, everybody told her too, do not move this man into your house. Here's all his pictures. Here's all his mugshot. Here's everything. It was a privilege to have that much information. When he says Rue on Twitter was saying that he would have had to prep the land for the shed and he's not going to do it. Listen, he's going to burn through that money quickly, because when you have a lot of money, then listen, in today's day and age, what did he get? Like 30K, and he doesn't have it all in one fell swoop. And then when you don't have any money coming in and you've got nothing but expenses going out, like it's tough for him to be able to do that, which is why I really do think that Kenleigh should be able to just, sell that stuff or get rid of it.